forgot what project he was on. He was on another project, so.
I would like to call the Town of Rocky Hill Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting of Wednesday, May 15th, 2024 to order. First item on the agenda is the public hearing. Item A, you want to?
If I may, item A on the agenda is site plan special permit modifications, J&D Associates LLC. It's for 2 residential units on a property located at 240 Meadow Road. That address was incorrectly entered into the legal notice as 240 Glastonbury Avenue, so that hearing will not be going forward this evening. That hearing will be going forward on June 26th.
Thank you.
So we're just going to skip A?
Yeah, so we're going to skip A. We're going to go to B, and for the purposes of seated commissioners, be myself, Commissioner Glico, Commissioner Lecco, Commissioner Mahose, and Commissioner Robbins. Yeah. All right.
Site plan, special permit modification.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Site plan, special permit modification, Rocky Hill Gateway LLC, proposing to change building number 11 from a 2-story building with first floor, 4,725 square feet of retail, and second floor, 4,528 square feet office, to a 3-story building with the first floor, 5,775 square feet of retail, second floor residential, 6 apartments, third floor residential, 6 apartments. 1 additional affordable unit up to 22 from 23, minor facade modifications for building number 1, 2, and 9 to enhance the exterior of the building, and requesting to modify the conditions of approval to allow truck access and parking during construction to be changed from Main Street to Main Street, Pratt Street, and Dividend Road as part of a revised phasing staging plan for property located at 2418 Main Street, known as Kelson Row, in the TC Town Center Zoning District, ID number 10-184.
We have the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. Attorney Joe Williams with Shipman and Goodwin. Our office is at 1 Constitution Plaza in Hartford. It's good to see you all again. And can we bring the screen to be able to show you some slides, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Just as an interim, just for the record, we have the certificates of mailing, just to hand in.
Okay, thank you.
You all have that on your screen?
Yeah, we have it on the
Okay,
screen. Do they have it there yet?
Yeah, it's warming up still.
Okay.
Okay, good. Well, I'm happy to be here once again on behalf of Belfanti Companies. We're just seeking what we view as a fairly minor modification to the approval that you gave for Kelson Row in the Rocky Hill Town Center. Okay, so what we will do is, I'm just going to give you a brief update on the status of the project, an overview of the application, and then Mark Forlenza and Michael Belfanti from Belfanti Companies will describe the benefits that we believe will be derived from the modification that we are proposing to you this evening. Then our civil engineer, Rock Emmond, and our architect, Jim Anderson, will show you renderings of what we are proposing for the modification, and then Mr. Belfanti will wrap it up. So, for an update on the project, you'll recall that you approved the special permit in February of 2022, and Belfanti got to work. And as you can see, I'm sure you have seen many times, just a stone's throw from here. Substantial progress has been made. Buildings are coming up and out of the ground. As of today, the construction is more than 30% completed, and we expect the project to be fully completed late summer of next year or early fall of 2025. That's not including Building 11, which is the main focus of our request to you this evening. Building 11, under the current plan, is scheduled to be started for construction by no later than March 2028. And so here's what we are requesting to modify with respect to Building 11. The current plan provides for that building, you'll remember it's the one that's furthest along, you'll see a plan, but furthest along Dividend Road, proposes a two-story building of retail and office, 10,000 square feet in total, with 5,000 square feet of retail on the first floor and then 5,000 square feet of office on the second floor. And as I said, it's currently planned to begin in March 2028 at the latest. And the overall plan provides 22 affordable units. What we are proposing is to change the use slightly to eliminate the office use in Building 11 and build a three-story building of 18,000 square feet total with a bit of an increase of the retail space on the first floor from 5,000 to 6,000 square feet, and then 6,000 square feet and 6 apartment units on each of the second and third floors. And if we get your approval for that modification, Belfonte plans, as he'll explain more in a moment, to incorporate the construction of Building 11 into the overall project, to start it sooner, probably early next year in the first quarter of 2025. And then the 12 additional apartment units that we're asking to add to Building 11 would include one affordable unit, so it would increase the number of affordable units for the overall project to 23 out of 225. And now Michael Belfonte and Mark Forlenza will talk to you more about the benefits of the modification.
Good evening, Commission. This is Mark Forlenza again. Glad to see you again. For the next few minutes of our presentation, Michael and I will just take you through, 5 benefits that we believe will succeed if you give us permission tonight to increase, the story and then convert the office to, other residential apartments. The first thing, and it's one of the main benefits, is the construction, as Joe said, is not scheduled to go until, March 7th, 2028. Primarily because we haven't found a market for the office right now. So we were waiting, and as you see, the signs have been out there for many months. We haven't had any hooks or any bites on our hook out there. So that's one of the reasons why that the construction has been pushed off. If you give us the permission, we will be able to expedite construction, which means, generally speaking, Main Street will be finished faster, and we can button it up very quick. If not, we'll have 5 years of additional sort of construction on Main Street and Dividend Road. And then, as Joe had said before, we'll build that Building 11 right in sequence. As we finish that last building, we wouldn't pull off the site. We would just keep going. So that's sort of the first benefit of our proposal. And the second one, we believe that there'll be increased. We've talked about activation and vibrancy in all of our meetings when this development was first approved. We're always talking about activation of the street. In retrospect, we believe that activation and vibrancy would be better if there was a residential use on Main Street in addition to the retail, because we have gotten some prospective tenants for the retail. It's a number of things why. The office use itself is dark at night and on the weekends, where the retail and the residential are more activated during the week and on the weekends. So just in general, just from a use perspective, there's more activation of the streetscape with those two uses. Secondarily, as you all know, the office market in southern Hartford struggles. And even in Rocky Hill, There was a big tenant that just left Rocky Hill, 50,000 feet or so. And you yourself are looking at rezoning some office properties, for residential. And we're exhibiting sort of the same thing as we try to market this office. So we're nervous that second floor is going to remain dark, which, again, doesn't give the activation that we would like to see on Main Street and Dividend Road. And then an expanded, retail space, again, gives us more retail on the ground floor, which is something, this commission really wanted. And then lastly, a third of the 5 benefits that we believe our application will succeed in doing is just adding the extra affordable apartment home to the existing ones we have right now. And that about sums my presentation up. Michael will talk to you about increased valuation of Building 11, and then how the streetscape itself will look, with the 3 stories as opposed to the 2.
Thank you. Good evening, and nice to see everybody again. As you know, when we were approved and we told everyone that we would be starting construction, we did as quickly as we could and got our permits going. We've made amazing progress with regards to the project, and we're actually, I'm proud to tell you, ahead of schedule. And I'm sure everyone is driven by the project and has seen the progress that we've made. Back to the benefits. This modified Building 11 will definitely be valued more at the time of the revaluation in 8 years. It'll simply be a more expensive building to build, and it'll be a higher amount to the grand list. It'll encompass 12 more new units, and as Mark said, actually one more affordable unit. As well as another 1,000 square feet of retail space, which would probably equate to at least one more store, whether that's a beauty salon or an ice cream store or whatever. I think we will be very successful with the lease-up. We've hired New England Real Estate to help us with the lease-up, and they are already talking to tenants for the retail. So we're very excited about that, and we've gotten a lot of inquiries, and we're actually talking about preliminary terms on some of the leases. But we expect this value to be at least at $2 million, which will increase the grand list by that amount, which will result in more taxes for the town. I'm not sure how to... Which one? Oh, thank you, Mark. So, again, the 5th benefit is the increased aesthetics. As you recall, there were 2 retail buildings, Building 9, which is being built, it's almost finished, and Building 11. But originally, Building 11 was just 2 stories. So the new Main Street streetscape would be much more pleasing to the eye, as the structures would now be symmetrical. Both would be 3 stories instead of a 3-story next to a 2-story building. So I think it'll look much better in terms of a streetscape. The increased curb appeal will also draw for prospective residential and retail users, as well as for customers who will patronize the retail business of the newly created Rocky Hill Town Center. Our architects also tried to use the same sort of brick as the CVS, as well as the other little retail building across the street. So when you look at them all together, it almost looks, or will look, hopefully eventually, that they all belong there and they were almost all built together. So we use some of the architectural features of some of the other buildings to try to tie in the whole project. I'm going to turn this over to one more. Oh, excuse me. All right. Oh, here we go. So the aesthetics again. So we'll have 4 symmetrical 3-story buildings on Main Street. Building 1, 2, 9, and 11. And as you could see, they're all the same levels, and it'll look more like a planned streetscape as opposed to Building 1, 2, 9 being 3-story, and Building 11 being 2-story. So I think it gives a much better much better optics to the whole project to go this one extra story on Building 11. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to our architect. James? I'm sorry. Rock from SLR.
Clicky. Just for the record, Rock Emmond, Associate Civil Engineer with SLR International Corporation out of 99 Realty Drive, Cheshire, Connecticut, here on behalf of Belfonte. Before you is the approved site plan. To give everybody some more perspective on everything, what we're trying to accomplish here is regarding Building 11, which is actually off of Dividend Road. So you have the frontage along the entire property. Main Street, which then ties into Dividend. As part of that same approval, we were looking to provide a plaza space, event plaza space. The Building 11, which was the first floor retail and the office above, as well as Building 9, which was retail at the bottom, and mixed-use residential above that. From a site plan perspective, it's not much different. As you can see, the plan really hasn't changed at all. Obviously, the building gets a little bit bigger, so we're now kind of straddling the property line. We're getting closer to that. I think we originally got approved for a 10-foot setback for buildings 1 and 2, and this is at 14.9 feet away from the property line along Dividend Road. So small potatoes, really, when it comes to everything. We're still providing that same event plaza space as well as the amenity space along the frontage. It's really just the square footage of the building, since the building is now increasing in size. So from a site plan perspective, it's essentially pretty simple. So I'll bring up this one thing. This is kind of just the enlargement of the area. Sorry, it couldn't be rendered. I couldn't get as fast as I wanted to, and I'm not very good with colored pencils. Really, to put everything in perspective for this commission, it's essentially the exact same site plan that was previously approved with some modifications for the building getting a little bit larger. Obviously, from a traffic perspective, the traffic does change a little bit because we're going from an office to now a residential space, but it's, I think, 10 trips over the 198 total that would have been generated at that time. Specifically, I think the peak hour was at 190 for the approval, and under this, we're at 199. So we're looking at a 9-trip increase, which, when you really think about everything that goes on during the day for traffic, it essentially equates to no time for your typical commute. You would see no difference. You're seeing slices of a second being increased. From a stormwater perspective, the building got larger. It actually just encompassed taking away some other impervious, so it's a net zero when it comes to the impervious calculations. And because the sediment erosion controls were already part of the original plans, there are no changes to the sediment erosion controls, so they're all going to be up to snuff as previously documented and approved. That's it for the site plan.
James Anderson, for the record, Studio Architects, 889 Howell Mill Road, Suite 4000, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. We are the architect of record for the project. So what we did in asking to look at Building 11, which you see on screen, is basically utilize some of the same kit of parts that we were using on the previous buildings to articulate and basically allow the elevations to coincide better with one another. We were always concerned about the step down at Building 11 with going from a 3-story to a 2-story. This allows us to maintain a similar elevational facade across the entire Main Street. We also feel that with the changes we did to the courtyard, that allows more activation between these two buildings with similar functions and a larger retail space to allow more potential interaction, activating the road and the streetscape. So it's the same heights at the lower level, so your retail spaces have the same ceiling heights as Building 9 does for your retail spaces, and your same floor-to-floor plates for levels 2 and 3. As you can see, so we utilize the same architectural elements, same brick, same type of we got the canopy structures out there. We're doing the pop-up parapets to give it that town center feel, and allowing, again, those two buildings to become kind of a one with a plaza in between. This is just an updated rendering of our building 2, a little bit different from what you had seen before, but the concept has been remained the same. It's just articulating minor changes that we did with regards to when we were finalizing their unit plan and unit mix. So as we put the whole site together, that's where these changes came. And then you see also the same, a previous rendering. This is the updated rendering of Building 1, which is right next to the common area, community area, right down at the left of this building off of Main Street.
Thanks, James. So, summary of benefits to the town of Rocky Hill and certainly to the project and to the developer. The increased value for Building 11 would be an increase of approximately $2 million plus or minus to the grand list. Of course, that's an estimate, but we suspect there will be higher taxes eventually being paid from the project. Increased vibrancy for the town center, a stronger retail anchor because you will have more retail space. Mark brought up a good point with the windows, being dark on a possible office that we can't lease on the second floor. Not a good situation to be in. You never want to see dark windows and no lights and no people. So I think this really helps it. I think it helps with safety. I think it, again, anchors that corner because people will be walking around there. There'll be activity. Certainly the improved aesthetics in terms of symmetry and how the buildings are now all 3-story going right across. Also with aesthetics, again, blending the buildings in with the CVS and the other retail building across the street. And if you notice, we also use the City Hall as part of our plan in the beginning in terms of the same type of brick and trying to, again, create this downtown center, which is what the commission was looking for and what staff was looking for when we kind of started the planning of our project. Certainly the faster completion of construction so that there's not a construction site or a follow site sitting there with, a mound of dirt because we'll finish it at the same time that we finish the project. And of course, the contribution to the affordability and the mission of affordability of the town of Rocky Hill. We always have considered ourselves to be a good partner to the town. We've asked everything, or we've done everything that the town has asked. We've come back and forth with different proposals. Our mission is to be a supportive partner to the town of Rocky Hill for now, and as long as we own this property, which we hope will be for a very, very long time. We are not merchant builders. We are not people that come in and build an apartment complex and then sell it to a real estate investment trust or to a hedge fund. We manage our own properties, as you know. We built the Cromwell Landon, 160 units in Cromwell. We still own it and we still operate it. And if you've had a chance to look at it, you could see the shape that it's in and the landscaping, and we may not maintain our properties beautifully. And we think this is just a great, great boon for the community, for the town of Rocky Hill, for the state of Connecticut, and of course for the project, which, for self-serving reasons, we think it's better for us economically. Thank you very much, and that concludes our presentation.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, obviously, we're here to answer them.
All right, thank you. If you can raise the...
Can we have the screen up, please? Thank you.
So I'm going to open up the podium for public comments. So if anyone here is attending to speak on this proposal, please, you can come up.
Can we have your name and address for the record, please?
Julie Rader, 611 Cedar Hollow Drive, Rocky Hill. I want to start this by saying when this whole project started, Cedar Hollow was very supportive of it because We naturally have had nothing but a dump back there for years and years and years. So we were very supportive. We attended a lot of meetings with you and went over things, and I'm, needless to say, we're a little bit disappointed in how things are coming out. But I want to address this particular proposal. Beside the fact that we've suffered a very big loss and has changed our lives tremendously, both financially and for some people, their whole home, I just want to say that we have been unsuccessful in getting answers to many of our questions, whether it is emailing different members of the town or calling or whatever. It hasn't been real responsive. But I, again, will address this other. I would like to note that we don't know who is really overseeing everything. So when we have a question of the fact that we are concerned about the level of the land that's being raised way above ours and watching that grade come down towards us, we don't know who to call. We send in a question, but we don't really know where we're going to get an answer. The reason we're concerned about the apartments and the number, adding any number, is we have good water pressure right now. We don't know if that will continue, but we definitely have a sewage issue. And then you add more units, it adds more sewage. You had said when we started there would be your building, your management building on the property, and I thought it was part of Building 11.
Ma'am, if you can address to the commission,
Okay,
please.
is that not true anymore?
You can address to the commission and just,
Okay,
yeah, I mean, you can raise your concerns. It's not going to be back and forth between
Okay,
commission
okay.
and the members.
but I thought there was going to be on-site management in that building, is what we were told. Does that mean with it not being an office building that won't be true anymore? I don't know the answer to that, or have they placed it somewhere else? I don't know that. The latest request, and, wait a minute, let me start over. I addressed that piece of land to the south, that is the southeast part of the property that would butt up against our property. Way over on that side, and also where Building 11 goes, is way higher than it was prior to construction, when it was just the old Ames property. And we already had this flow of water onto our land, and I'm assuming just natural flow of water, as well as what's going to come from those buildings with people using water and sewage. There's already, I look at your plan, and the pictures that are up there. Are we really, with adding more commercial property, are we really going to have adequate parking there? Have we thought about, when you talked about the amount of traffic, and this concerns the Pratt Street exit, because that was discussed in our meetings, that would not be used. And the Pratt Street exit there has a couple of concerns for us. One is, you already have people starting work at 6 a.m. We've complained about that. Those are heavy trucks that must deliver something very heavy because it shakes the whole our property for the people in that end of our property. Have you considered the fact that it's going to be difficult for large trucks to make a right-hand turn and go up to that dividend area, as opposed to a left-hand turn and going through our property or around Belden? I just don't know if you all have thought of all of that, because that's a hard turn to turn out of there, go right, and go over that hill and the exit, the getting onto dividend. One of the things that I was promised was what a good neighbor everybody wanted to be. A fence was knocked down about 2.5 months ago, still on our property. There is no barrier to anybody walking into that construction area. Used to be a sign up that said construction area danger. There's nothing. Then they let the fence go on our property, and it's all grown over with grass, ruined our lawn. It just seems like nobody pays attention. I don't know who in the town oversees this. I also hear in this presentation all the different things they're going to do. But originally, you had Deep involved in all of this and other engineers besides their engineers. Can we assume that that's still true, that Deep and your engineers have looked at the sewage, et cetera? I went to a luncheon that the mayor had, and she told me and the group that
Ma'am, if you can expedite your comments, please.
what?
If you can expedite your comments, please.
Okay.
If we are
Well-
limiting 2 minutes to everybody.
Okay. It hasn't been a very quick problem for us. But we were told that all of this was going to be overseen and reports occasionally, and I can't say that I've heard that. I heard from her that there's a problem connecting the drainage pipes to our pipes because our sewage pipes, which are adequate for our property, are smaller than the ones being put in. And that they haven't connected them yet because they're trying to find a solution or money or something for the project. I feel that Rocky Hill, or that Cedar Hollow, should be kept informed of some of this. They come on the property, they look at our stuff, but we don't get any reports. So we don't know who's looking at it, who's overseeing it. And I think there needs to be better communication with the adjoining property owners. It's really affecting us. We have people, I'm sorry to say, that live in that one building that hear it all day from 6 in the morning till 7 at night, all the dirt and dust, and they're putting up with it for the long run. But there's got to be some give and take here and protection of the people who already live there. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I should clarify one. If I can, before anyone else who would like to speak? And before you come up, ma'am, I'm going to ask the developer, because in the approval, you had talked about requesting to modify conditions of approval to allow truck access and parking during construction to be from main to main, Pratt and Dividend. So is that, because we didn't hear anything about that aspect, is that correct? Right.
We'll speak to it, sure.
Okay, so please complete the full application, otherwise, whatever changes you are planning to make, so that,
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, excuse us, we actually just forgot to do it, actually. So if you don't mind, we'll go back and we'll do it now. So as part of your conditions of our original approval, we provided you with this the phasing plan. It's almost identical to this one, except for the purple area here. So what our request is it's not to let that access up into construction for the full construction duration, but to allow us to use Pratt Street for about 4 months, from July of 2025 to the end of October of 2025, because that is sort of our last phase of this development. At that point, what will happen is all the units will be paved. There will be residents in the development, and it's just more natural for us to bring the remaining construction traffic through Pratt Street. Now, there will not be any heavy construction trucks coming through. At that point of the development, which is July of 2025, the foundation will be in, the framing will be in, and the only thing left will be sort of the finished trades. So the trim carpenters, the cabinet installers, that kind of stuff. So for those 4 months, we wanted to use, that sort of access. That was our request. So that's sort of, nothing will change right now while this heavy construction is going on. That was part of our application.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, is it visible on the other side to the members of the audience? We need to make sure the audience can see that board as well. And if you could just very briefly go
Sure.
over what you just said to make sure the audience.
This was the original staging plan that we had, and as a condition of our approval, we weren't supposed to bring construction traffic here, which we're not doing. In the last phase of the development, which is about 4 months, from July 2025 to October, these foundations will all be in, the buildings will be framed, but this will all be paved and done too. So the minor trucks that are coming in, sort of the finished carpenter, the electricians, we'd like to have access through Pratt. It's not going to change anything that we're doing right now.
Yeah, so what, you can come up to the podium, please, and ask questions. So what the process is, let them explain everything. Once they do it, you can come up, ask questions, and they'll come back and respond.
But it doesn't go back and forth.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Also, you asked a question about the management and where the management office would be. What's your first name? Julie. This is not where the management office was going to be in 9 or 11. This is our clubhouse here and community room and rental office. So there'd be 3 full-time people here all the time during business hours, and people there call in the evening hours as well. And you asked a lot of questions, and I don't know why you didn't get the answers, but
Typically,
Can I please bring order to the meeting?
I'm sorry.
You have to
Oh,
address
I'm
to us,
sorry.
and also, as I said, all the responses will come after the
Oh,
public
okay.
hearing from the public
Okay.
is completed. Please follow the process.
Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So anyway, I just wanted to show her where the
Yes, you will
management.
have a time
Okay.
to respond to each and every question that is raised by the public.
Okay.
Sorry, we just got a little mixed up with.
No back and forth with the public, please, because that's. Anyone else from the public who would like to address? Yes, please.
Good evening. Sandra Baker, 509 Cedar Hollow. Well, I wrote out a paper because I'm not much of a professional speaker, so I'll just read the paper, okay? On July the 3rd of 2023, around 8:10 p.m., an enormous amount of mud, debris, and water entered the cellars of the 500 building, and most of them got 8 feet of water, which I myself did. 3 steps away from the main living area. We were all displaced for 3.5 months. Plus, we had to replace all mechanicals. And the ironic thing about this whole thing is the building contractors have not even taken any responsibility for any of this, except, I have to take it back, say anybody who's displaced could have rent for free wherever we put you. I went to one of their places. It was an absolute dump. A project, things coming out of the wall. You wouldn't believe it. Unacceptable. Okay. And I've told other people. My son has seen it. So the town already said no to the extra things. I don't know why they're trying to pursue it. To this construction. The extra units would affect Cedar Hollow in many ways, and this is wrong even to consider it. The buildings are up to the sidewalk now. There's no place for parking for businesses. It is a mess. And who has the right to close a residential area for people, where people use daily for all their daily needs? Trucks, are you kidding? And school buses go up and down that street, coming and going from 7 a.m. till 7 or 8 p.m., the street should be closed. It's very unheard of. I've never heard of anything like that. They should use their own driveway and just get used to it. The mayor and government officials of Rocky Hill, if I have a suggestion, you guys should take the trucks and this atrocity and put it in your backyard and run it up your streets. That's how I feel, okay? And put it behind your homes and in front. One of the things that you gave the contractor company a very considerable amount of tax break for many years, I understand.
It's not.
Well, you raised our taxes.
Okay, this board.
So can
Well,
I?
please,
Can you please?
You told everybody else.
Please, you can talk about the proposal that's in front of
I am
tonight.
talking about it. And I'm
We,
also.
we cannot get into taxes or anything like that, so please, if you have any
That's the
comments,
proposal?
No,
if you
this
have any
board-
comments on the proposal that is in front of us, the change that is proposed,
Okay,
please talk about the changes.
well, so, let me see.
Thank you.
The pipes in the ground, by the way, in Cedar Hollow, I was told that the town said that they weren't good. But, however, between 5, 7, or 10 years ago, I know they were all replaced in the back of 500 building, and the reason I know is because I'm the one that reported them to the town. So, there you have it. I think it's disgusting that you ruin people's lives, cost them hundreds and thousands of dollars, and expect all of this to keep going on. And the town green, where is that going?
Can you please address based on the changes that are proposed?
I did.
Thank you. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. Oh, my God.
Next, please, anyone else who would like to address to the commission? Yes, please. Yeah.
Is it? This right here?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay. Wendy Guajadalo, we live at 2360 Main Street. I have just a couple of concerns. What steps are being taken to accommodate all of the extra traffic going back and forth? And secondly, where is the main entry? Because currently there is a road that goes down to our condos that abuts the new construction, and I'm not sure if where the main entrance is going to be with the 1, 2, 9, and 11. Is there going to be another road that separates 2 and 9, which will be new, and that's going to be the entry point? I wasn't clear from the pictures. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the commission? Anyone else who would like to address to the commission on this proposed change? Seeing none, I would have a developer address the concerns that are raised as they relate to the proposed changes.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. We're going to first address the pipe issue, which is a storm sewer pipe. We're going to let our engineer take you through this catastrophe we had with an unbelievable amount of rainfall. What caused, well, God caused the rainfall. It was a force majeure. And then that rainfall caused a backup in the flooding to flood, and that's how the property, the condominium, was flooded. But I'll let our engineer explain it in detail on what happened that evening.
I think what I would recommend is, as I said, we have a change in front of us, and anything that affects that change, if the pipe comes and is affecting, it's one thing. But if it doesn't, then I want to focus on the change. I don't want to go reiterate the whole project again, because that's, you know.
So just to put it on the record, the change that is proposed does not affect the drainage whatsoever. From a traffic perspective, as I iterated during my brief presentation, the increase in traffic is essentially nominal when it comes to the overall approved development. There was 190 trips that were previously approved. We're looking to increase that to 199. So from that perspective, it's basically a drop in a bucket when compared to Main Street, which is a major artery. And I think the intersection itself is a level of service of C, and that shall not change. There was a question about water pressure. With the development, we received a sewer availability and capacity letter from the MDC. This was prior to, I guess, part of our approval. With the change, there should be no change in water pressure from our perspective and the surrounding areas, because it's all served by MDC, and they do their own due diligence to make sure that they provide adequate water pressure to the neighbors. Scribbled. Oh, the main entrance. The main entrance does not change with this minor modification. If it would be beneficial to the commission, could I just point it out directly to the public? Thank you.
Do we have this on the record?
So
Excuse you.
I think it gets out of hand if we try to give little leeway, because all this has to be documented in the public hearing. Everybody's talking without, mic, so.
Yep. Understood. Apologies. There was a question about parking. We require 416 spaces. We will be providing or approved for 466 spaces. So we obviously have more than what's required. And this would be also for any sort of overflow or visitor parking.
Right.
And that does include garage spaces, just so you're aware.
Any other comments, clarifications?
The one thing that was mentioned about the drive aisle changing, the drive aisle didn't change, the numbers of the building changed as part of our sequencing. So it used to be building 2 and 9. Now it's building 1 and building 9. But the buildings never changed. The drive aisle never changed from the original submittal, and it's not planned to. And there's no additional entrances planned with this submittal.
Unless there's more, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, so I'm going to go through the commission members.
Of what we heard so far, I think we've addressed what is affected by this proposal. Thank you.
Commissioner, any comments?
Yeah. In reference to the apartments, the additional residents, are they 1 or 2 bedroom units?
They're a combination of 1s and 2s. If I remember correctly, we've got 8 2-bedrooms, and the balance are 1-bedrooms. 8 total units on the corners. So you have your level 2 on the corners, level 3 on the corners. Those are 2-bedrooms.
So there's a total of 12 new units.
3 and 3, sorry. You're right. Yeah, sorry. So we have total of 4 2-bedrooms and total, so those are stacked, and 1, 2, 3, and 6 1-bedrooms. Sorry, I apologize for that.
So that's 10. We're still missing 2.
That's what I was saying. They had to change. 1 second, please. It's actually 6 and 6.
Okay. Now we got 12.
Yep. No, 4 and 8. I was looking at the wrong tabulation on my sheet. So 8 one-bedrooms, 4 two-bedrooms.
Okay. The office space, is that being subdivided into multiple units, or is that one? How is that going to be?
Well, in the proposed plan, there would be no office space. It would be retail.
I'm sorry.
And the proposal, based
Retail.
on increasing it to 6,000 square feet, that would allow us to have 4, potentially 5, depending on the square footage that the particular tenant would want, to be able to serve that space. So if you did it by 4 tenants, each one would approximately have 1,500 square feet.
Okay, so I guess that was my question. It's not considered one. You're not trying to.
No,
market
we're
it
not
as-
trying to get one whole tenant in there. We're trying to get multiple tenants in the 1,000 to 1,500 range, depending on obviously what the market will support.
Okay.
So that is the plan.
It is.
Not going-
But right now, it's an empty shell, and the plan is once leases are signed or acquired, then we would subdivide the space with demising walls. We have provided entrances on the front for 4 physical entrances. So we have storefront systems with canopies for 4. We can always modify that before construction if needed, if we start having leases that are pre-leased prior to building the space. We have flexibility on the storefront.
So the name of the shops, or the shops at Kelson Row, shops being more than one, so we're certainly not looking to attract, one tenant like a Hartford Health or something like that. So the idea is the more shops, the better, because it services our tenancy better, and the residents will have more options to shop there. So that's what we're looking to do.
You referenced the runoff wasn't going to change, impervious wasn't really going to change percentage-wise. Is there any change in the pipe size going to the detention pond from that location?
So specifically as part of our original approval, we have so you have to imagine the original Ames building and the Sea of parking lot.
Yep.
We have such a reduction in impervious that we are only mitigating for water quality retention throughout, as well as there is an existing underground detention system that we're reutilizing on the space. With the change in impervious, it stays status quo.
Correct. So I guess I'm just trying to address one of the questions that I heard in reference to size of diameter of pipe. Is that going to change in any way from the original design? So the flow shouldn't change.
So from our proposal tonight, no, it does not. So there was a study that was performed in conjunction with the DOT, the town, after the storm event that was essentially flooded out the neighbors.
Right.
And we evaluated, there's a storm pipe that bisects the entire property. Then there's also a connection which goes through to Cedar Hollow's property.
Yep.
We evaluated that entire pipe. There's a drainage report associated with that. It provides recommendations for essentially increasing the size of the last leg on Cedar Hollow, as well as a parallel pipe on our property.
So that'd be outside of the footprint
Yes.
of this original building?
Very much so.
Okay, that was my question.
It's sorry to go off on a tangent.
No,
It's
I
more
understand.
In the middle of the property.
Nope, I understand.
Could I just interject and maybe answer some of those questions with
Sure.
comment or a suggestion? I can give you my phone number. I can give you the Director of Community Development Services phone number, Stephen Soplak. He also serves as our town engineer. Concerning that particular issue, you might want to talk to the town engineer on that, Steve Soplak. Okay? Okay, and I have my business cards up here. Okay. Just so.
Okay, question in phases. Are you looking, do you have an estimate? I know you said you guys are ahead of schedule, so do you have an estimate on when, like, the first, second building are going to get a CO and get tenants in there?
Yeah, so we're expecting the first turn, which is the clubhouse, which is where our management offices are, will be in the fall range, so October, and then shortly after we'll deliver the first sort of phase of the buildings, Building 2, as you saw on the map. And those turns will then continue all the way to, which I described before, November of 2025. So we'll have buildings delivered one at a time and occupied as they're ready to go and CO'd.
I'm trying to understand the method of egress for the tenants as you start filling these buildings. Because you're proposing the Pratt Street entrance for construction, so I'm trying to understand your.
Yeah, there's only one method, one way in and out, and that's sort of the main entrance that you see right now where the light is, and eventually that light will be replaced, before our first occupancy. So that light will be replaced, timing will be adjusted, and then that's the main ingress and egress for the entire community. The staging plan that you have is our our dedication to keep our residents safe, and we'll have construction, fencing around each of that and provide enough spaces per zoning, and we'll have the building fully occupied and occupiable, but the rest of the site, won't be 100% complete. They'll be in various stages of construction. By the time folks move in, most of the structures will be erected, and we'll just be inside the buildings. It's a standard way sort of these garden communities are developed. Like, we don't wait for the whole development to be done and then move people in.
And just for clarity, Pratt Street is not going to be closed at any time.
No,
It's
open.
for through traffic, even
yes.
even through your request.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I got.
All right, Commissioner Leko?
Sure, a couple questions. First of all, why did you only propose 2 stories in the first place there? If you're touting that this is going to look better and be an overall betterment for the project.
Firstly, we were concerned about the demand of office on the second floor. And certainly, we were even more concerned about office on a third floor. So since we haven't gotten any inquiries on the office, that's when we kind of came back with this new proposal with the residential component, because we're very confident we could lease the residential. And that's the reason why it was only 2 floors, because we didn't want to add a third story of office. Did that answer your question?
Sure. So if this is approved, when would Building 11 be completed?
So I described sort of the construction sequence, the construction schedule to you guys. Like, will be around, when we're using Pratt Street, it'll be around the end of 2025, early 2026. We'll probably start that building. Well, if we get it approved tonight, we'll probably start the foundation faster than that. So that building will probably be delivered, in mid 2026, fall of 2026.
Okay. So 2 years, basically 2 years earlier than originally scheduled.
Yes, it'll be considerably earlier than originally scheduled. Again, we're confident in the demand for the increased retail, which is what the sort of commission wanted, and we're confident that we can, rent the apartments.
So that would still be after the last phase of the project. This is
if
the
you look
last
on that
phase.
phasing map,
Yeah.
we don't show that building right now, the one that you saw. But what we'll end up doing is, if we get your approval tonight, we'll update that sequencing plan, and
So-
that won't require us to come off of Pratt Street.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Doing that building will not require us to come off of Pratt Street for the minor construction
Okay,
traffic.
but if you were to keep it as a 2-story building and building it in 2028, where would you access the construction of that building if
If
it
we're
was
waiting, you
built-
mean?
if this is not approved
We would access it exactly where we're doing it now, through the front entrance.
through the front entrance? Okay.
Just one thing, Mr. Commissioner, on the timing. Building 11 under the current proposal wouldn't start until March of 2028, which means it wouldn't be finished till probably 2030. So it's not a 2-year gap, it's really like a 4-year gap.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I had.
Commissioner Morose?
Okay, just that last comment you made, the approval and I'm trying to think of the word, the town council allowed you to delay the construction on building 11 till 2028? 14 years from now? Oh, I'm sorry, no, 4 years from now? Okay. Okay, so, all right. Well, that was just an aside because I just heard that, and I don't know why I thought it was so long ago. Okay, I have a few comments and questions. First of all, the applications for RH Rocky Hill Gateway LLC and the approval was for Belfonte Companies. Who are these entities? Are they the same? Because we never heard, I don't know that we heard of Rocky Hill Gateway.
Can you please come on? Yeah.
So Belfonte Companies is our development company. My name is Michael Belfonte, and the Rocky Hill Gateway is a LLC that we put each different project into a separate entity. And that's the entity that's actually doing the project. But Belfonte Companies is overseeing it, which is us. That's not the legal entity, but that is the entity that's overseeing it.
Okay, because when I was reading the agenda and everything, I saw this name that I wasn't familiar with.
At the end of the day, it's the same person, I guess.
Okay, just want to clarify for everybody.
Thank you.
Another comment was you were talking about the tax benefit to the town. We can't consider tax revenue in the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's irrelevant to us. Just an observation about the footprint of building number 11. You're increasing the footprint by 20% from what was approved. I'm talking about the approved dimensions and what you're asking for tonight. So you're going to increase the footprint by, I think it was 19 point something percent.
Yes, which is 1,000 feet. But yes, it's 20%, but 1,000 feet.
And you're
less
going
than half this room.
right, but but it is larger, and you're going to go from, I don't have the number, from 9,253 square feet for the building 11 as approved, and you're going to 17,325. So you're virtually doubling the actual square footage of the building by making it bigger and adding it an additional story.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And when you increase the size of the building, I forget who it was, said that the distance to the road is small potatoes. How much closer is it than the approved distance that we had 2 years ago?
I believe it's 1.5 feet. I'd have to double check on the exact number, but it's essentially 1.5 feet, which we were approved for 10 feet, and this is 14.9. So
The setback.
the setback is 10
Okay.
feet. That's the approval. So we are
So you approved
obviously
for
past
10,
that.
and you're saying that it's 14?
Yeah, now the distance
I
is
think you have-
14. No, so we got the
Reverse?
approval for a 10-foot setback.
Okay.
So the distance between the building and the property line got the building and the property line got closer by about 1.5 feet, changing from, I think it was 15 and change to 14.9, but still past that 10-foot setback.
All right. And
Yes.
the comments that were made during the presentation was you're going to put one affordable unit in the building. You don't allot affordable units by building, you do it by the entire.
Yeah, it's actually not the actual unit in a certain building. It's the whole community would have one more affordable unit.
Okay, but it was stated by, I think, two people that it would be in the building, and it's really not. It shouldn't be.
No, it's not in the actual building, but it's in the complex when you aggregate all the different units.
Okay. Now, I just want to go over the approval that was good. You're asking for us to give you a waiver on two of the conditions of approval from 2 years ago. One was that the only building above 47 feet would be building number 7, which is way in the back of the property. And now you're asking for this building number 11, to be 48 feet, which is 8 feet above what's permissible, what was originally proposed. So,
I don't believe that's right. It would be the same height as building 9, and I don't know off the top of my head what that dimension is. But because building in 9 have the same floor-to-floor height for the ground level as well as 2 levels of units above with 9-foot nominal ceilings, it'd be the same height.
somewhere in your documentation, you said it would go from 40 feet to 48 feet.
Showing it as 36, oh, wait a minute, that's not the peak.
But then there's the roof. That's to the parapet.
I guess what I'd like to know is, we've got buildings number 1, 2, 9, and 11.
Correct.
What are the heights of those 4 buildings?
I'd have to double
Ground
check.
level.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and double check and look at my heights that we have on the drawings. I can do that while we're speaking, and I can come back and step up real quick.
That'd be good. And another, okay.
The heights that we show on our drawings are for the parapet walls, not the peak, just to let you know.
And then, well, you pointed out yourself that one of the other conditions of approval was no construction vehicles through Pratt Street, the Pratt Street entrance. Just pointing out what was approved 2 years ago. Now, the overriding question is, I know there's problems renting offices, this, that, and the other. The pandemic's over. That's what caused a lot of the office rental issues. Now we're talking 2 years later after the approval, and you want to change conditions that just out of the blue.
Let me go back to the previous. It's 35'7" is from bottom of grad to top of truss bearing point,
Okay.
which is the same size as building 9. Parapets would extend above that, but as far as the building height measuring to the truss bearing point, it's 35 feet 9.
Okay. Thank you.
And then with you, and I know the owner can talk about ownership as well. I know from an architectural standpoint, we're seeing offices all across the country that we work in being converted to multifamily because even though COVID is over, the COVID is still carrying through, and people are terminating leases and realizing they can work from home just as effectively,
Retiring.
without keeping a brick and mortar building. So
Okay.
we have 3 projects we're looking at in addition to this one that mimic that scenario of, hey, we've got office building space we need to use. Let's try and turn it into multifamily.
Okay. Let me see if I have anything else that. Okay. What is actually going on with the Pratt Street exit now? I drove by there the other day, and it looks like it's unpaved, that's for sure. It looks like a ditch almost.
I don't know exactly what, I mean, it's open and it's accessible to the community. We're not bringing construction traffic through. I'll take a look at it, but I don't know what you're speaking of exactly.
No, I'm not saying you're bringing construction vehicles through there, but right now, it looks like it's about 6 inches below, I didn't get out of the car and measure,
Yeah.
6 inches below the level of the pavement.
So essentially, they're starting to get to subgrade. So there's a cut there. That way they can bring pavement eventually to there. So it's just part of the phasing process. So usually there's like a 6-inch of coarse aggregates that are just below the finished course. They're probably just at subgrade. And then I think they're also putting in a new utility pole. So there
Okay,
could
I went
be-
through there a week ago. You might have
Gotcha.
worked on it since, so
Yeah,
I
maybe.
can't say.
But hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. I think that covers what I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ramos?
All right, bear with me for a second. I might repeat
the same questions, but I just want to make sure I've got it straight for the record. So what we're looking at here is a proposed increase in the intensity of this existing approved development. We're looking at 2 stories to 3 stories. We're looking at an increased footprint where the previous approved structure was in the vicinity of about 9,000 square feet total, with 3 stories at 5,775 square feet. Times 3, we're over 17,000 square feet, which is almost double. And then about 3,500 less square feet of mixed use, when the overall percentage of mixed use to the approved proposal was low to start with, and it's going to be lower now. Did I say anything incorrectly?
No, I think the only thing, just as a clarification, with the mixed use, it's also a change in type. So we increase the retail, which is we feel what's important to activate the street front, and a reduction in office, which is basically almost non-existent from a rentability standpoint at this point. So we're trying to utilize the space so that we can activate the street, as opposed to having an entire floor upstairs with dark windows and nobody being there. They become a dilapidated, eyesore on the city.
So we're not coming with a proposal where you do that. You do that 5,775 square feet of retail, and then just stick with the second floor, and maybe you come in with 6 more units. Why go all the way to 3? The only reason I heard was aesthetics. So this gets to my next question. What's the initial elevation of Building 11 plus the 2 stories? And what's the ground elevation of Building 9 plus the 3 stories? Because I'm wondering if they're going to be pretty close to start with.
Let me pull up a drawing real quick. Let me pause my presentation. I do have it on my computer here. It might be easier than trying to find the paper version.
Then we need the screen. Could we have the screen down, please?
That's our line. Say something about that.
Well, it's staff, so we have.
I just want to state for the record, the attorney for the applicant asked me who was seated for the application.
We got to warm up again.
Building 11 was brought out into a separate project, so that's why I'm having a hard time finding it on my computer, since we were doing that at a later date from a construction standpoint. But Building 11, based off of memory, was, let me pull up Building 9 elevations. So the first level of Building 11 originally was 16 and remains at 16. And then the original level of Building 11 was actually 12 and a half feet to the top plate, because we had a lot higher floor space because we were doing office there with a 10 to 11 foot ceiling to allow room for mechanical and a higher ceiling. So that would be a 26 foot versus a 36 foot based on, so it's a delta of 12 feet. And the reason that we were also looking at doing additional level of residential above is because the economies of scale, as you're doing additional units, spending the money to put extra stair towers in and to put the level of wood frame construction in, there's a higher cost per square foot that's associated with that by doing a single story versus a second story. The other issue would be is if we did one level, we would actually be lower in height than the existing building 11, which would create, in our opinion, a greater differential between building 9 and building 11, because building 11, if we only did one story of units above it, it would be 4 to 5 feet less than what we currently had in building 11 proposed. And we felt that unifying that streetscape along the front was the best approach to try and unify all 4 buildings so it did not look like one building was out of place.
But that wasn't something that crossed your mind in the previous proposal, so this,
Well, the reason we had it in the previous proposal is there was a request for office space. And so building 11 was where he had proposed to do the office space, and because we had an increase we were trying to get the amount of retail that we needed and to do office space that was requested, building 11 seemed to be the best location to do that, not only from the size of the building footprint, but also from available parking in the back.
all right, the other question I have is that, you definitely have a bigger footprint, and the bigger the footprint, the less pervious area on the property, so.
That is incorrect, because what we have done is we've actually reduced by 1,000 square feet, as stated by Rock, that we're taking 1,000 square feet away from the pervious area in the courtyard, so it's a net wash.
Oh, other areas you,
No, just in that courtyard area between building 9 and 11,
Yeah.
we've done some additional softscape to make up for that 1,000 square foot delta.
yeah, that wasn't clear, that wasn't clear.
Hold on one second. Show it again. So if you look at this plan here, let me try and get it out of full screen mode to try and zoom in on it a little bit. This is the original, correct? That's the proposed. So if you look at here, this is all hardscape through here. And when you go to the second plan, there's more green space that's incorporated at the edge of the building. There's a green space island that's incorporated in the middle. Those square footages of the additional green space offset the 1,000 square foot of hard surface. So it's a net wash.
Also, just to further clarify, that area that's in front, that's specifically here, that was all stamped concrete. So when you're increasing the building, we're just going over what was previously impervious.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully that's,
All right,
the
good.
more clarity is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we're just
that's the clarification.
swapping impervious with impervious.
That's what I was looking for. But with that said, and this, just to remind me, where are the stormwater control structures on the property? I mean, I know you're not coming in with a stormwater design here, but
Yeah.
I can't even remember where.
So just to put it all in perspective again, this was originally the Ames development. It was fully 98% paved. We've reduced that by a significant margin, so we're dealing with the stormwater both with the increased green space that is on the property, as well as water quality measures, such as, catch basins with deep sumps, a large hydrodynamic separator, as well as there is an existing underground detention system that is actually the north part of the property that was essentially underutilized and not exactly activated, I guess is the best term since we're using it today. So we're actually using that now as part of our stormwater infrastructure. Not technically part of this building.
That was there from before?
Yeah, it was actually kind of neat. Not that I'm getting overly excited.
All right. All right, so the other question I have is that, and this is trying to carefully word it so it aligns with the new regulations. But the physical characteristics of the surrounding properties include the town memorial green, a historic ancient cemetery, and single-family residential units in the area of the proposed change Building 11. So how does this building, with the proposed architectural elements, add value or at least blends in with the surrounding physical characteristics of those unique properties that just happen to be adjacent to this change?
Well, the first element that we did, and that was something we spent a lot of time with, is picking the right type of brick. You know, originally we started off with a pure red brick, providing a brick that had that weathered look to it with a variation of colors is very representative in that area as well as in the city hall with regards to the color application of it. The products that we're using on the exterior are cementitious fiber cement panels and lap, which you would use in a single-family home. We're not using stucco. We're not using EIFS. We did the parapets primarily just for that street addressment for the common areas to make it look, again, like the town center, like the commission had requested. But we are using residential-type products you would see on your home.
But you're off the main street, now you're on Dividend, and the surrounding properties, the tallest properties adjacent to it are 2-story, and then these are 3 stories, so.
Well, as you go up.
Would a 2-story be more compatible with the surrounding properties?
So unfortunately, it doesn't articulate well specifically in this area, but, so there is about 9-foot grade change between where the gazebo is to Pratt Street. So you would actually be exposed 2 stories. So if you were looking from Pratt Street onto the property at Building 11, you'd essentially see 2 stories.
Oh, okay. Yeah, again, just hard to tell. And before we had to send us those cross-sectional visuals, because it's hard to get a sense of what this, and we probably won't really know until it happens, which is a concern too, but, all right, so the next question I have, and you may have already said it, but I just want to make sure I understand. Part of this proposal are facade modifications, minor facade modifications to buildings 1, 2, and 9. Remind me again what those facade modifications are to 1, 2, and 9?
It's really just locating where the bump ins and bump outs were. They're still in the same manner of what we'd originally approved, but as we went through the entire pro forma of the project with regards to 1s and 2s and 3 bedrooms, we had to work up a mix that was sufficient to the owner. And so by placing those units, some of those locations, like a balcony, might have shifted. So that's what we wanted to do, is we wanted to present to the board what is currently out there. Some of the elements we had initially in the first round of submittal, the bump outs on, and I can try and show those real quick. I think I got the original presentation in here. That the walls, the bump outs on the exterior facade were, I guess, overly expressed. They were a thicker board and batten type material, as opposed to being, sorry, I'm trying to locate where I saved this on my computer. It might be in my downloads. I don't seem to have where that is, but that was the main thing. It was, we also trued up the colors as we picked the colors. So the grays, we trued up the actual colors to be the actual color that we're painting it, because we're using the fiber cement pre-finished from James Hardie. So it was minor tweaks just to let you know that this is the same angle and this is what we're looking at.
Okay. All right, and then the last question I have for this evening is that other than a convenience on your part, why do you need access to Dividend Road and Pratt Street for 4 months when you previously agreed that that would not be needed? So I heard the explanation, but to me that was an explanation of convenience.
Well,
other than that, what was, because we were very succinct in our previous approval that was, we didn't want it. construction vehicles going in and down the project.
Well, the other thing is, just to be clarified, the construction vehicles we're talking about are more like box trucks. It's not going to be the large cement trucks. All the concrete will be paved, poured at that time and be in place. It's not going to be mixers. It's going to be like a U-Haul truck that's bringing in either appliances, cabinetry, those kind of things. And the reason that was requested, I believe, Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that because we're working our way out of the project, we're turning building 10, which is the new number. Again, keep in mind these numbers changed from the last presentation due to requests from our addressing group here at Rocky Hill. We're working our way counterclockwise. So that's the section that we need to have access to as we're getting into the last two phases, which is building 9 and 11, being able to get equipment in to finish those buildings out. Just with finished material. Frame will be up, so you won't have any trucks bringing trusses and swinging trusses in. You won't have any cranes. You won't have anything like that. It's going to be a moving type vehicle.
So if there's none of that, why not just use the front entrance, which is a shorter distance?
The only reason why we wanted to try and use it is just because it's going to be a high traffic area. We'll have most of the property will be leased up at that point, so you will be more traffic coming in. And so we wanted to be able to try and minimize and separate from a safety of the residents and a safety of the workers to separate those two functions, which is typical what we normally do in a project of this type.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh, that's fine.
all right. That's all I have for questions for now.
Commissioner Brescia?
Is there a fence around the construction site? Is there all the way around?
Oh, can we raise the screen, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I believe that there was a fence there. I'll take a look at what one of the folks in the audience said about the fence being down, and we'll take care of it.
Okay, there's no fence in anyone's yard or?
I'll look. I mean, not that I'm aware of, but we will check it out.
Okay, good. So you want to convert the office space over to residential. Why not consider retail on a second floor so that you have 2 floors of retail? Retail seems to be taken off in our town.
Retail, if we do retail, it requires us to have an elevator for ADA access, which is an additional cost and expense. Plus, we are also still concerned, even though retail is picking up in the market, it has not completely come back to where you're having tons of people knock down your door. It's still a space from the renter and the owner's perspective is they want to make sure they can rent the property. And again, you don't want a second-story unit. Second-story units typically don't rent as well. They want to be on the street where that activation happens. So the second floor is going to be less likely to lease, and you have the more opportunity for it to become, again, a dark door, dark shuttered type window where you're not going to see that activity. So an empty shell isn't going to do the overall treatment of the neighborhood well.
Okay, because it seems like you're right next to the community event plaza. It would be nice to have something maybe a little bit different because you're right next to that little bit of area where a lot of the community is going to go there, or you're hoping to get people into there, the community event plaza and the gazebo and the picnic area. So maybe something a little bit lower, like a 2 stories, I think might be nice, and maybe a little bit different kind of building, maybe glassed in on the second floor or something that could be set it apart so it's not 3 stories, or go to a second floor and do your apartments.
So again, going back to what Rock said previously about the grade, as you go up there, what you're going to see from the street is a 2-story building, even though it is 3 stories in nature. You know, again, with regards to the retail, we haven't obviously checked the market as far as a second story, but I know the projects we're working at, everybody wants to be on the ground floor, especially if you've got a courtyard and a connection to Building 9 where you can commingle those retail functions. That's what everybody wants. They want to be able to walk in the door, grab and go out the same way, not have to deal with egress, getting into an elevator, having issues with an elevator with regards to access and keeping that, on the forefront.
Have you thought about keeping it just at 2 stories and having apartments on the second floor?
Well, again, we talked about that, and we thought that because we were already concerned about the elevational change originally when we had a 2-story building next to a 3-story, doing it to a two-story because that two-story would be overall lower and shorter than the original building 11 because of the floor-to-floor heights. We felt that we kind of split the difference between the two. And because of the grade change, again, it still gives you the appearance of a two-story.
Okay. And were your additional parking spaces going to go behind that building, Building 11?
So we're not proposing any new additional spaces. These are all spaces that were part of the prior approval. And so as you can, I guess we can't see anymore, but they're basically directly adjacent to the uses.
Okay. And are you going to add more bicycle racks with air pumps and things to accommodate that building?
Sure. I mean, we can put a bike rack in their building if that's what you request, of course.
Well, I'm just saying, because you have now 12 more units, that's,
We believe we have a sufficient number of bike racks, around the community and in the town pocket park. In addition, we have like bike storage in garages that residents can use, but sort of to protect the bike from the outside, and they don't have to bring it into their community. So that's one of the things we do provide. But if you'd like a bike rack in front of that building, we'd have no problem doing it.
I saw some nice bike racks with the pumps built into them. It's kind of nice. If you can fill your tires, too. So coming down Pratt Street, you said July through October would be the time frame for those construction vehicles?
About 4 months to finish off the interior of the apartment homes.
Because that's right, school starts then, too. So that's kind of a tough time. Is there like a different time frame you could do, maybe move it up a little bit?
No, that's kind of when those buildings are being, and again, the folks come in, in the morning at 7 o'clock. Apparently, sometimes at 6 o'clock, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen again, actually. But they come in sort of in the morning. Deliveries come in the morning when the school buses sort of are not there.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I just have a couple of questions, piggybacking on the access from Pratt Street. So what are the cons, and is this like make or break deal? Is it like, if you don't get it, the project goes, So can you expand on that, knowing that, again, it's going to be lighter trucks, not heavy trucks, and you have your office there, and you'll be managing the traffic there if something, happens or this or that. It's I just want to gauge what it is that this request is, specifically because, as Commissioner Robbins said,
Yeah, I mean, in general, what we're trying to do is protect, in general, the security and safety of folks outside and then inside the community, and we're sort of weighing that risk and asking for that. And we don't think it's much of a risk bringing the trucks in through Pratt Street. But it provides for an overall safer environment for both inside and outside. So that's why we made the request.
Yeah. This is for staff. Like, did we get any comments from engineering or?
Construction entrance not as discussed, shown in 3 locations, supposed to be shown on Dividend Road. This was dated on April 24th of this year. It is from Steve Sopelak, the Director of Community Development Services. Police Department, Brian Klett, the Chief of Police, just check the box, approve the proposal.
Okay.
And that's it. Do we have?
And I understand the reason for, adding 2 floors to make it even and all that. Did it come after any other approvals from any departments, or this is just happening because of what's going on with the market and things like that? Is that some of the requirement from anyone else, any other department, or like that?
I don't think so.
We just, Mr. Commissioner, we just thought that this would be the highest and best use for the project in terms, again, visibility, economics, walkability, beautification, et cetera. It was just an afterthought after we advertised for over a year where we didn't get any nibbles on any office for that location. And I know for a fact, I have a building in Hamden, Connecticut, with second floor retail, and it's been empty for, I think, almost 10 years now. So it's very hard to lease retail space on the second floor, and that's why we went with the residential component. And we think it's best for the community, and you know, self-servingly, I think it's better for us, so I'm not going to stand here and say it's not, but I think it's going to be a better project. I think it's going to look better, and I think it's going to be received better from the community. And like Mark said and our architect said, the building is, even though it's 3 stories, from Pratt Street, it's a 2-story building because the grade is lower.
And the last question is on affordable units. How about 2 units instead of 1?
If that was the, you know, we'd certainly consider that.
Okay. 'Cause I think it's give and take type, so, you know, I think it would be beneficial to add more affordable housing, you know, for the town, so.
And understand, you know, any affordable unit, you know, is not
Yes.
economically viable. So, no, I understand. No, I understand the request, but yes, we would consider that.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions, follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out one more thing. Since we were talking about the Pratt Street exit, the condition wasn't just construction, prohibiting construction trucks. The condition is all truck traffic during construction as well as after the certificate of occupancy through the main street, the main entrance along Main Street. So, I mean, that was kind of poo-pooed a little bit, saying, well, after we're finished, you're still going to have trucks anyway. Trucks were not supposed to go in and out of that, and that was part of one of the conditions and accepted by the developer. So that's a fact. And I just wanted to point that out. It's not a minor thing for 4 months. It's going to be forever.
Yep.
I'm finished.
No, thank you.
My
And
speech.
no, I think again, and just commentary. I was looking at this proposal compared to the entire project. I mean, when we discuss minor change, major change, and all that, we look at not just what the change is proposed and all that. I mean, we are looking at a larger area. So the percentages where, you know, looks high when you just look at one building, but once you look at all 10, 12 buildings, it goes down. So any further questions or comments?
Just wanted to ask one more question on the, not to harp on the Pratt Street entrance again, but as you start opening up the phases and people or residents are living there, are they going to be allowed to use that, or is that going to be restricted only to the construction? Meaning, it's always supposed to have access.
Yeah, I mean,
Egress.
if you allow us to use Pratt Street for trucks during that 4-month period and no other time, we can restrict our residents just coming through the front.
Yeah, I'm not asking for you to restrict them. I was wondering if there was going to be restrictions. Like, are you fencing in the area so that they can't drive through?
No,
So it's always going to stay open.
It's always going to stay open.
Okay, so it was going to be open to the residents. So it was.
Yes. Yes, that's always the way it was planned. So the commercial traffic was going to be kept off Pratt Street, and the residents would either come through the light or through Pratt Street. And you know, whatever we estimated the amount of traffic coming through that was probably negligible, you know. But
Any further questions?
Nope, that's it.
If none, can I have a motion, please?
Motion to close the public hearing?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
You already did.
No, I think we're going to item 2, Call the meeting to order. Item 3, public comments. Anyone in the public who would like to speak to the commission on items not on the agenda? Anyone who would like to address the commission on items that are not on the agenda? Seeing none, moving on to consent agenda.
A motion to adopt consent agenda, minutes and actions from April 17th, 2024.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5A has been
Deleted.
Postponed to
Next month.
next month. 5B.
So, motion to
Motion.
approve. Motion to approve agenda item B, site plan special permit modification, Rocky Hill Gateway LLC, proposing to change building number 11 from a two-story building with first floor, 4,725 square feet of retail, and second floor, 4,528 square feet of office, to a three-story building with a first floor, 5,775 square feet of retail, second floor residential, 6 apartments, third floor residential, 6 apartments.
Two additional. Instead of-
Changing 1 to 2,
No, you can't do that. Oh, you can, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. This is a
to
motion.
2 additional affordable units, up from 22 to 24. Minor facade modifications for building number 1, 2, and 9 to enhance the exterior of the building, and request to modify the conditions of approval to allow truck access and parking during construction to be changed to Main Street, Pratt Street, Divinon Road, as part of the revised phasing stage plan for properties located at 2418 Main Street, known as Kelson Row, at a TC Town Center zoning district, ID number 10-184. We should add the dates? of
Yes,
the-
July, yeah,
I didn't write it down, I'm sorry.
so July 2025 to October
Adding
2025.
the dates of July through 2025 through October 2025 for the access drive on Pratt Street.
I'll second that for the purpose of discussion.
Right, any discussion?
Motion.
Yeah, I would add another.
No,
He goes
you-
first, I
Oh,
will
you,
second
first. Yeah, go.
Any discussion, any comments or anything like that?
I'm good.
Good.
I want to propose an amendment to delete the approval of truck access and parking during construction through the entire construction phase. And following the condition that we had 2 years ago, no truck traffic through that exit at any time.
I think it's going to be very difficult to enforce that because of the residents.
We're not talking about enforcement, we're talking about,
Was there a friendly amendment?
yeah, that's what
There
I'm
was a friendly
working on.
amendment. Was
That's-
there a
We have to-
second to
we
the
have to
friendly
second.
amendment?
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
we have to,
Yeah.
you have to.
I thought we were
accept-
discussing.
Yeah, accept the second,
And then once there's a second,
And
then you
then-
can discuss it.
So accept the amendment.
yeah, accept the friendly amendment for discussion.
I accept the friendly amendment for discussion.
You seconded it, not accepted yet. You're going to reject it in a few minutes. The purpose of that is, I mean, that was a controversial issue 2 years ago. I mean, one of my proposals back then was to not allow any traffic going in after a certain period of time or at all. And it was decided to allow car traffic in and out. But this was a specific condition regarding truck traffic, to not allow it. You got to realize this, I mean, we have to realize this, there's a house on, single-family house on each side of that road. And to allow trucks going in and out of there, I mean, I'm not going to say any time of the day or night, but to allow trucks going in and out of there, those people are going to get really, disrupted. So I believe It was okay 2 years ago to have all truck traffic going in and out of the main road, and I believe we should maintain that condition. Now it's a question of whether you want to accept it.
It's not for discussion?
Yeah, you can discuss, yeah.
And then-
So, as I was saying, I think that you can't restrict trucks from driving down Pratt Street. There's gonna be vehicles driving up and down Pratt Street.
Correct.
I don't think there's any way to enforce it. There's gonna be vehicles egress and going in and out of this property off of this same entrance. And this is a short time frame.
They're going to be construction trucks. Now, if the developer can't enforce the conditions of the development, that's a problem in and of itself.
Right.
So it's not miscellaneous people coming and going during that 4 or 5 month period. It's people that are actually working on the site or delivering materials to people working on the site. So it's not a question of enforcement. It's a question of disruption of the people on Pratt Street and the people that actually live adjacent to the property.
Okay.
I mean, I think, again, it's a short term. I know initially we had prohibited heavy construction, equipment and all that because, we wanted to, avoid all the construction, at that time. And,
The condition was all truck traffic.
Yeah,
not
understood.
construction traffic, all truck traffic. Now, you've got delivery trucks, you've got mail trucks. I don't know if you can do anything about that. You've got all sorts of different categories of trucks.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm
Now we're talking
picturing-
about just construction trucks.
So I was picturing more like the workers coming to work in their personal vehicles. But you're talking about like box trucks, delivery trucks. Because to me, heavy construction, it was dump trucks, moving, equipment movers.
All truck traffic.
Okay.
So I believe we should maintain that and not, the entrance on Dividend Road, actually, is it Main Street, just prior to Dividend Road, is plenty big enough for trucks to come and go. We're not going to have a steady stream like it's a warehouse.
Right.
So I believe that we should maintain that condition.
Is that it?
That's my comment. Yeah.
Any other comments?
Yeah, so building 11 is going to be the last building built, right? Building 9 will be built. Everything else will be constructed and occupied by the time building 11 gets even started.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming that heavy construction vehicles would be needed to construct building 11, so they would have to come in through the main entrance because they would not be allowed to come in through Pratt Street.
The last phase is, if I remember it correctly, was Phase 7 on that colored chart, which is the purple.
Which is
in
the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
and
over and above the request to change building number.
Okay,
11.
but those aren't really well, there's one occupied building back there, the residential. But my point is that heavy construction vehicles are going to be coming in and out of there anyway, and that's
Right.
also going to be pickup trucks for the trades. So why are we making an exception for Pratt Street? To me, it doesn't make all that much sense.
Well, Main Street is a 4-lane, most of it is a
Yeah.
4-lane, essentially a commercial state highway. Pratt Street is a 2-lane residential street.
Yeah.
So you're going to be allowing trucks to go up and down to accommodate this construction.
Yeah.
A residential street, rather than have them come in where they originally agreed to do it.
Yeah.
I think
No, I'm
making an
agreeing.
exception
I'm
at this
actually
point-
agreeing with you.
Yeah, I know.
I'm actually agreeing with you because
Yeah.
I don't. see the rationale for just this one minor exception for this 4-month period when
They're going to be doing it for 2 years anyway.
that is not as much a threat to the public as the heavy construction vehicles coming in. Because we have to protect, we're charged with protecting the people that are going to live there once they're there, you know?
They said the footings and the foundations, everything are going to be built.
Oh, the footings are going to be built?
Everything will be done.
There's no heavy construction. It's light construction vehicles. It's
What
bringing appliances
what about
in.
what about the shell of the building?
He said that's going to be pre-made.
The shell and all that will be done. So
The
this
shell's
will be
gonna be
the
done?
delivery for either cabinets
Facade
or.
stuff, doing the windows, that kind of stuff.
Can you make sure you're speaking into the microphones as well?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry about that.
'Cause we are recording.
I guess we need to clarify if what's considered heavy equipment
Yeah.
to light construction.
I mean, now it's us.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the hearing's over, so we can't clarify other than the commission itself.
My
understanding-
But the
my
point was,
understanding is when you say light construction, we're talking the finishings, there may be cabinetry coming in.
Right, like a
might be
delivery truck
Painting
delivering.
contractors coming in, but not.
Yeah, there's going to be some delivery of large materials. I mean, you're going to have to deliver things in a flatbed maybe, and maybe on a,
Logic begs the question.
yeah, we're talking about a few hundred feet.
yeah.
That and it's probably tougher to get down Pratt Street with a truck than it is to go in the main entrance. Right?
And that vertical sight line on Pratt and Dividend Road is not great. It's not great. I know we did the
Yeah,
striping there, which
yeah,
helps
it's-
a little,
There's
but
other administrative ways the issue could be dealt with without having to expose the people on Pratt Street to that truck traffic. They could work with their contractors to set up some type of administrative
All right.
schedule to.
We're going around in a circle now.
We're going in circles. So,
So I-
in keeping in line with the original approval and all that, good.
So a motion to accept
That
the,
condition.
Friendly
the
amendment.
friendly amendment.
Okay.
So, any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm still concerned with the increased intensity, even with the proposal as presented.
So do you want to propose an amendment, or what are we trying to do? Because
Did we
otherwise
not
we can-
have a motion?
Yeah.
We had the original motion and a
Yep.
second. Then we had a friendly amendment and a second. Then it's my understanding Giuseppe Aglico
Yep,
just made a
Agreed.
motion to accept the friendly amendment.
friendly amendment.
Okay, so
And if you need a second, I'll
we
second
need
that
to,
too.
we are acting on the friendly amendment?
Yeah, so we acted on friendly amendment.
That particular one.
On the particular one to remove the access. You seconded,
Yes, I second that.
he seconded it.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I
now,
just want to make sure I get it.
No, so we are
just trying
still-
to keep the record
We are
straight.
still trying to discuss. I mean, Commissioner Robbins was
Very
discussing
confusing.
further. So I'm saying, is there a motion, friendly amendment that you want to put in, or you were just discussing?
Can you do two friendlies in a row?
yeah, you can
Yeah?
do, you can
All
do
right,
them.
all right. I'm proposing an additional friendly amendment, at least for discussion. That with the proposed change to building 11, that it be restricted to the original height, or not height, but the original 2 stories, as previously approved, rather than 3 stories.
We have to do it backwards.
You need a
And
second?
we can discuss it after.
I'll second that.
All right, for,
Was-
yeah, I'm not in agreement. I think, I like to have a vote on, let's just vote on that friendly amendment.
You don't need to do it all at once.
Yeah, so we
No,
can just vote.
I would go, you had Ron do a friendly amendment, and it was seconded.
Yep,
On
So it becomes part of the
2
original motion.
stories.
Yep.
So we can vote on that.
It becomes part of the original
No, we can
Original
vote.
motion.
Don't we discuss it?
We can discuss it. But I think what I'm saying
It was
is.
seconded, correct? The
I think
two-story?
we can still have a vote.
If that was discussed.
You don't vote on individual
Yeah, 'cause you
amendments.
have
Usually
to
you
have
friendly
amendment.
amendment.
With the
The
second.
person who made the original motion approves
Is
it.
it-
There's no vote. He accepts the friendly amendment.
And it
Then you
becomes
move on
part
to
of
the
the
next one.
entire
You don't
motion.
First or seconds on the friendly amendments.
Right.
First or seconds, it's just, will the
Is it
original
the
motion
motion
maker
to-
accept it? So
We'll,
at this point, you have two
Okay, so we
friendly
gotta go back to
amendments
the original motion.
that are
But
now
don't we
added
have
to the
to-
first motion, and you should only vote on
Vote
the
on
first motion.
on the first one.
Yeah.
So you
only
go-
vote once
This is
on
very
the overall- The end result of the motion.
You go one issue at a time?
His friendly amendment,
Mine.
yes.
and we're denying his.
Glad you,
Don't
glad you.
We didn't even talk about it.
glad you-
Quick to the draw.
Just trying to.
I think,
No, you should.
so for discussion
'Cause I'm
purposes,
losing it.
we have the second motion on the table. Go ahead.
All right, the original was proposed as 2 stories. It had office space,
So we have.
and retail.
This one was
The new proposal has increased retail on the bottom, increased footprint, and increased second floor story. So even with a 2-story structure, they'd get an additional 2,000 square feet of real estate. We'd lose more mixed use, just with 2-story. We'd still lose more mixed use of over 3,000 plus square feet of office space. There are 4, in a 3-story proposal, there are 4 2-bedroom units in there. And we know that the 2-bedroom units generate demand on local resources as far as the needs of our school system. So you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 4 to 8 max additional school children. Maybe not all at the same time, but somewhere between that number, you got an increased demand on school children, where we've already gone through that discussion in the previous disposal. So changing this to a residential use with 4 2-bedroom units is a major increase in intensity of the property. Issue that the concern with office space that they had raised goes away if they have at least 1 story of residential. And the only other argument was the appearance, but while it may look like a 2-story structure from Pratt Street, it's gonna be a 3-story structure towering up against our Memorial Green and the ancient cemetery from that angle. And we don't know what that angle even looks like. So we don't, and it's gonna be 14 feet away from the property line. So we're gonna put this tall, big building next to our Memorial Green and the ancient cemetery. I think we've got, for the sake of the folks in this town, I say we can't go higher than 2 stories in that corner. And they still benefit. They still get an additional benefit. So that's my justification for it.
All right. Any further comments?
Yeah, I have a couple, or one that'll develop into a couple. The logic that you only see 2 stories from the street or from Pratt Street is fine, except that prior to this proposal, you'd only see 1. So, I mean, I use the word poo-poo a lot tonight. You're poo-pooing the fact that you're only going to see 2 of the 3 stories, but up until now, you would only be seeing 1 of the 2 stories. So that first story, you'd never see whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 5 stories. So that's not a justification for making it look better. And I agree with you on that. I was going to comment is that we're talking about this large building really right across the street from the town green and the cemetery. Plus, it's not really on Main Street, it's on Dividend Road.
Dividend.
It's not, so traffic isn't, it's not going to be an aesthetic issue by people driving by, because they're probably not even going to see that corner of this particular property when they're driving on Main Street. They will if they drive on Dividend Road, but that's not as heavily traveled.
Any further questions? All right, let's,
Is he going to accept that?
so,
Yeah. See.
yeah, I mean, he,
Am I going to accept the amendment?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think that the fact that the other buildings are 3 stories, and this is just going to continue, I think it's going to look, I understand your point from looking from the direction of Pratt Street. Like they explained, there's a grade change, but the buildings, the adjacent building to it is going to be 3 stories. It's going to,
I think we have.
visually, I think it's going
we
to
have
fall.
beat this to that. So I think let's vote on, I think
So, well,
you have to,
did he?
Have to agree or
He
disagree?
has to agree or
No, no,
disagree. You don't vote on the
disagree, like-
individual.
Right, so I disagree with keeping it a 2-story.
all right. So let's have a vote.
Well, now we have comments on the general,
So that's nice.
Yeah, in general.
yeah. Which my comment would be that, this is so far after the fact, and we've gotten all sorts of comments about this. We had, I don't know how many hearings, plus we had 1 denial, and this second proposal was to accommodate the reasons for the original denial a month or so earlier. So now coming in 2 years later with yet another change is, to me, inappropriate. So I won't, even though I seconded it for discussion, I probably
that's
won't
all
be supporting it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, as far as I said in my comments, you don't look at one of the 10, 12 buildings as a minor or major amendment. You look at the entire development as a whole. The developer came with increasing, residential units, decreasing, getting rid of office, increasing the retail space, and increasing the affordable units. We are getting, 1 more unit than what was proposed. So I think overall, keeping the recent trends of development, not only in Rocky Hill, but in Connecticut. I mean, I have seen Route 99. You don't have to go any other town. Just look at 99, what we have. Look at Route 3, what we have. We have developments behind Carbones, sitting there. How many years? I mean, so I think the reason that I'm going to vote, yes, is I want this development to succeed. I don't want this development to fail and have one corner an eyesore versus the other corners are nice. I think that's what I'm looking at, and that's why I'm for this development.
You're getting 2 more affordable units, but if I can use the term, you're getting 10 less than affordable units. It's not just adding 2 affordable units, it's adding 12 units, 10 of which are going to be full price or whatever the going market rate is. Only 2 of them are going to be affordable. So that, it was fine 2 years ago, and I believe it's fine now.
I think if you look at what's going on around the country, as far as accessibility to housing, it is a big issue. Housing is a big issue in this state, in the legislature that just convened, just finished. Majority of the legislators and the legislations were related to affordable housing. So housing is a crisis in the state. I think any housing unit that we get is beneficial to not only us, our citizens, our elders who want to downsize, our young kids who are graduating from schools and want to rent, who cannot afford to buy a house. I think it is a crisis that we have to recognize sitting here, that housing is a crisis. I mean, we can't just look at affordable housing, units, 2 units. I mean, it is creating, 10 more other units that will be useful for the residents. I think that's the way I'm looking at. So let's vote.
Well, wait a minute, we're not.
Any more
discussing.
comments? Yeah, come on.
I haven't had a chance to talk.
Right.
Here's the thing. We haven't heard anything tonight that this is going to make or break this development. There's no evidence presented to us that this is going to keep this proposal from succeeding or failing. What it's going to do is it's going to make this thing even more profitable and beneficial to the applicant.
We cannot look at
Yes, we can.
financial.
Yes, we can.
No, we cannot.
Taxes we can't look at.
Right, I mean, benefits,
We're not talking
financial
about,
or
he's not
anything,
mentioning
you know.
taxes.
The point is that I'm just explaining the obvious. Even with my friendly amendment, which we rejected, it was still going to be a positive benefit. But now what we're saying is that we're only getting actually one additional affordable housing unit out of this.
Two.
Oh, I see.
Well,
One in the proposal.
Two.
Yeah, it was increased to two.
They agreed to
Oh,
add
okay.
another.
But the point is that we're going to increase the demands on town resources above and beyond what was originally agreed. We had much more public intervention and involvement to even get to where we were before. And now when the public's not here, after the fact, we're sitting here arguing about giving it even more residential units. This is already a residential development with a minimal amount of retail use. It doesn't align with the vision that we put in for the town center. I've said it before, we're only supposed to have buildings close to the road if, in fact, there was retail. And the one building currently that has retail now is the farthest away from the road as far as the properties that front the street. The other buildings that are close to the road are all 100% residential. It actually counters what we wrote in our own zoning regulations. And that's what we're here for. We're here to implement our own zoning regulations, and it's clear as day is what it says. And I know what it says because we worked on writing those regulations. And we are missing the vision of what we were trying to do. So we don't have to agree, but I'm at the point where if we don't agree, then maybe we should deny this without prejudice and let it come back at us with something else. Because we're trying to make lemonade out of lemons here, when in reality, this is not going to make or break their development. It's only going to enhance it. And to the detriment of the people who have to live around this development. So I won't be voting for this proposal because I can't. Because I can't look people in the face in this town and say, oh, I did what's best for this town. Because I don't agree that that's the case here.
Right, thank you. Any further comments?
Yeah, as far as housing is concerned, I don't remember the study that came out. I don't know, it's probably about 10 years ago when they were talking about changing the regulations regarding elderly housing. And there was a study done by the town or somebody that said that Rocky Hill itself has a much higher percentage of multifamily housing than most towns in the area, except maybe possibly Hartford, and that would be downtown Hartford. We already have more multifamily units in Rocky Hill than percentage-wise, than most towns in the state. So talking about, housing is a crisis. Yeah, it is in some places, but not
So
in,
you think it's not crisis in Rocky Hill?
no, not at all.
I just want to address Alan's comment. Since I've worked in Rocky Hill, and I've worked here for years, the issue on multifamily housing has always come up with people saying, we've done our share. One of the things that this commission must do and communities must do is further the Fair Housing Act. And the Fair Housing Act is opportunities for all. And that means creating multifamily housing. That means creating workforce housing. That means creating middle housing where you have 4 units, maybe 4 units together. It means creating affordable housing. It means creating high-rise housing. It means creating single-family homes, whether we have it or not.
And we have addressed that.
That
with this.
argument, as far as we've done our share with multifamily housing, doesn't work.
I didn't
under
say
the
we did
fair-
our share, but
Okay,
we
under the
addressed
fair-
that with this development 2 years ago when it was approved.
I'm just saying, under the Fair Housing Act, that's not something we can say.
Don't agree.
It's not, we can't go there, because then we will not be
It's an
addressing
equity
the
issue.
fair.
It's-
Yes,
it's-
it is.
That housing equity issue when we discuss certain things, sitting here and applying
Right.
Yes.
zoning
Claiming there's
regulations.
a housing crisis in Rocky Hill is incorrect. There's a crisis in the general area, maybe the state of Connecticut or the country. But using that, well,
Again, I think
whatever.
we have to, you have to prove it's not there, right? I mean, I see every day.
Yeah, that's
I
not
see
related, that's not related to
this.
this
no.
issue.
But, any further comments?
I mean, I don't disagree with the commissioner. I just think that there's pros and cons to everything, and there's, like you said about, we have a high multiple housing here, but we have, I don't think one more floor of residential is gonna add 9 students to our school system.
No, I'm saying that the 2 stories will add.
It could.
4 2-bedroom units.
But we're not seeing that we're not seeing a high level of.
Right, that's why I gave a range.
Yeah.
And to that point, we had example from our existing school system. Because of the development of Brook Street Apartments and then behind the,
But it's not my only point.
No,
I mean,
so
my other
again-
point is
again, I think-
a 3-story
I think-
structure up against the
right.
Memorial Green.
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
talking
big-
about
that's a
I'm
big
talking
issue.
about the surrounding physical characteristics of the adjacent properties. You're on the dividend, which
I think,
I don't know.
I mean, again, I think everybody got a chance to talk. I think we can go on and whole night. So I think let's just vote and see where it falls. So can I have a vote on the motion, original motion that was amended, accepted, getting rid of the eliminating the truck access,
Pratt Street.
Pratt Street,
entrance.
but not agreeing with elimination of the floor.
You want to do them one at a time? A roll call?
Yeah, so all in favor of that motion?
No. One
No,
Yeah,
the
we'll say
The
not sure yet.
motion is to approve with the extra affordable units. So there will be 2 extra now.
Yep.
One that they proposed and one that they have agreed to. So 2 extra affordable units. And the rest of the motion, except for eliminating the
Pratt Street,
Pratt Street truck,
construction entrance.
yep, traffic.
I'm going to vote for yes.
So I want to make sure I'm voting on what I think I'm voting on. So voting on the proposal as is, except for removing Pratt Street construction entrance and adding
Adding one more.
one more than
Affordable.
original proposed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what's your vote? Yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Vote yes?
No.
No.
Right, thank you.
No
Passes
surprise.
3-2.
And just second.
It's not my problem. That's not my problem. Going on to item C.
Okay. Report on conditions for Ferry Park Grill and Chill. Sarah Bedelavos, on the approved expansion of the number of tables on site and the allowance of 88 seats total including 6 tables along the Connecticut River bank at a seasonal outdoor restaurant use for property located at 277 Meadow Road in a WF waterfront zoning district following. That the applicant works with staff on ADA compliance and reports back to the commission on what was decided. That the applicant works with sanitarian for garbage receptacles placement, ensuring it is on the property and not on public property. The staff investigates and reports back to the commission on statements made about parking on state land. And I apologize if I
No, you're
said
fine.
your name wrong.
So to first address the 6 tables and the 88 seats, it was similar as our previous years as we were approved due to COVID. So not much changed in terms of that. We haven't received any complaints or, concerns from any neighbors surrounding. So overall, it was just like the previous seasons. In terms of working with staff on the ADA compliance, I spoke with Kim, and we both agreed to continue what we have been doing, allowing people to call ahead and for us to bring out their meals to them, or just for them to pull up and us to go and take their order and, do whatever we can to make sure that they're able to eat at the restaurant. We did discuss potentially adding a notice in the menu stating that we offer that service. And then as far as the garbage placement, we have had and will continue this year to have one on the main deck, one right below where the stairs are, and then 2 on the opposite ends of where the tables are towards the water. I've been working with the health department, not just with that, but other equipment, bringing things up to code. So we've discussed that as one of our topics. And then in terms of the staff, I know that that was your task, so.
Yeah. I talked to Sarah on a few occasions. We talked about reasonable accommodations and stressed that because of the site, and it's been in that condition for years as far as the gravel driveway and all, and she came up with some great ideas on menu modifications and advertising with respect to that as well. I talked to Jasmine Campbell and Jeff Fiquito of the Central Connecticut Health District, and we are going to do a joint inspection prior to opening to make sure that they're satisfied with dumpster placement and with receptacles on the top deck and then down by the lower tables as well. I contacted Kenneth Cooper, who's a surveyor and engineer at the Connecticut Department of Transportation with respect to the property, and he's going to be getting me a map as far as easements that they found that the property owner has over their state property. So there is something that does give them the ability to park on that state property. So I will get that for you for your next meeting or even prior to the next meeting, so you have that.
We actually asked for that sometime last year. The actual.
Well, this came up because we were going to report on the conditions before she opened up this year. She just literally, we had the modification last year, and the land use form for that modification last year was just recorded on the land records. So. Okay.
So very soon we're going to get details of what the easement is and.
Correct.
For the parking. And actually, the access road is on state property also.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
It
has been for
I actually
some
found
time.
the easement map when I was looking through some records at the town clerk's office.
Okay.
I was like, oh, that's the same location.
That Hale, I think, was one of the original owners.
Yep. It's stated in there for picnic tables on the easement.
All right, so
So this is basically, this is not an approval of anything, this is just, you wanted a review of the conditions and.
Okay. So, yeah, keep us informed when you get the.
Okay. May I suggest that, unless you want Sarah back, that Sarah doesn't need to here?
No.
Unless there's-
No,
Okay.
I mean, that's fine.
Too bad you had to sit through
Sorry you
three
had to
hours
sit
of this
there.
other stuff.
It was interesting.
I do have a
So,
question.
Kind of.
Is there a dumpster on site?
Yes.
Besides the receptacles?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's farther away, like you can't see it unless you turn into.
No,
the
I was
parking
just wondering if it was one or the other. So you have both?
lot. Oh, both, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Because you also have the Connecticut River Shad Place
Yes,
there
yeah.
as well that uses the dumpster also.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Too bad
Moving
you
on
had to
to
sit
item
through
D.
3 hours of this.
Discussion is set a public hearing date. Town of Rocky Hill proposing to modify the Rocky Hill zoning regulations, section 4.b.2.4, commercial type use to add licensed adult use cannabis retail in accordance with section 6.0 in the RC Regional Commercial, C Commercial, BP1 Business Park 1 and BP2 Business Park 2 zoning district, and to delete the licensed medical marijuana dispensary use from the TC Town Center zoning district in section 4.b.2.4.
Okay. I do want to modify that. This was carried over from last agenda. In looking at the zoning map, and you should have a zoning map with your regulations. We do want to eliminate the licensed medical marijuana facilities from all the other zones.
No, I'm just setting it aside.
Oh.
But we're looking at the RC, the Regional Commercial Zone, which is right at interchange 24. You don't have, do I have writing on mine? I can give you mine.
I got about 10 copies of that at home, and I will bring one.
Ready.
It's right in here.
Oh,
Just that little pinkish orange color. up
It's
here.
right by interchange 24, up, the Regional Commercial District. On and off the highway, easy on and off the highway. Keep in mind the licensed, the medical marijuana facilities, as well as the adult use cannabis facilities, which that use was approved by this commission last month. So right now, I'd be hard pressed to tell someone, no, they can't come in, but it would be nice if we could tell them where they could come in if there's still interest. I know we went a long period of time where every couple months we would have someone contacting our office wanting to know if the commission had made a decision on that. No one has contacted me since, so I don't know if people have lost interest or not. But in looking at other facilities, I know that in contacting people, like in Newington, for example, they have,
Oh, one on the Berlin Turnpike.
they have, on the Berlin Turnpike, yep.
Did you guys see that one on the Berlin Turnpike?
Two of them.
There's a few on the Berlin Turnpike, yeah.
So
I think we can, yeah.
But, I mean,
I'll make a motion that we set the public hearing date for our next regular meeting.
okay, do you want to, have the licensed medical marijuana dispensaries as well as the adult use cannabis, and it could be one and the same, allowable in the regional commercial zoning district?
See any problem
Yeah.
with that? Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
When's our next meeting?
Our next meeting, just so the commission knows, and this is, you got to pay attention, the next meeting is June 26th. It's the fourth Wednesday of the month. Okay, typically we meet the third Wednesday of the month. That is Juneteenth. That is now a holiday.
Oh, yeah.
So we will not be meeting that day. We will be having our regular meeting on our schedule is the 26th
June
of June.
For the public hearing, though, are we only proposing regional commercial? Or we-
That's what I was asking.
Yeah,
for.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
all right, because that's what we had agreed to way back when.
Right.
But
So we're
this
gonna
was a
delete-
carryover from the other agenda.
We'll delete this language about commercial business parks
Correct.
1 and 2. Okay, good.
So you need a second?
Kim, did you say you had an updated zoning map? Because the one I have is from 27.
I gave my copy to Nancy, so
Is that something you can
I
email?
will- I can email it. I
Yeah, that'd be
can-
great.
Yeah.
On the website, too. But anyhow, we have a motion
I
on
can
the
print them
floor.
out.
Can I have a second?
A second?
All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Now we can chit-chat.
Item 6A, zoning enforcement.
There is a sheet, and I asked, there's a sheet on the table this evening. I asked Ben Winter to enlarge the font, because it was extremely small. And also, the date on top, you'll notice, is February 1st of 2024. Giuseppe, at the last meeting, asked if we could have like a running history. So it's not, and I don't know if you want it sorted by street or what have you. It's, I guess, a work in progress. But you can see there are some repeats on here.
If you can sort, maybe sort by disposition, so we can see some that you've already addressed and some
Well,
that
we
are
could
still
do disposition, and I'm thinking streets also. Alphabetized by, well, it's tough because we have a lot of repeats on here.
Yeah.
We're also finding,
Chickens.
yes, we're finding, well, now, this commission deals with planning and zoning. You don't deal with blight per se. You don't deal with noise complaints. Some of these things are inoperable vehicles. Those are ordinances that we enforce. And this spreadsheet is for everything, because we have to enforce all that stuff. So that's
I would
why.
say just things that are appropriate to this commission.
Well, we could raise those to the top of this sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll sort them by type, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if you have anything you want to discuss, or,
It's all pretty routine.
No, it's
I mean, we are seeing a lot more frivolous complaints.
Signs.
I know, let's just move on.
Well, frivolous in general. We're seeing a lot more. Everything that comes in, though, we do have to go check. And sometimes people say, well, you're not going to see it, it's at night. So I just happen to live in town, so I can see it at night. Or you're only going to see it on the weekend, so. that's why.
Moving on to 6B, minor modifications.
No, we were in the process of, we thought we would be getting one, but we did not.
All right, moving on to C, Plan Implementation Committee.
The meeting?
No, pick.
Yeah, was there a
No?
meeting?
Okay. Moving on to item 6D, Affordable Housing Committee.
Yes. Affordable Housing Committee, we had 2 meetings. The council appointed 7 individuals. They elected officers. The chairperson of the committee is Venan Gala. The vice chair is Charles Wisnowski, and the secretary is Alan Smith, who had been in the audience.
Yep.
We reviewed the affordable housing plan, and at that meeting, assignments were given to the individual members, so they're working on a few things. The commission might be pleasantly surprised. They're looking at a CHFA presentation to do it like a town forum with the CHFA. It's an organization that's located in Rocky Hill. They have a lot of programs for first-time home buyers and such, and we'd like to have the community learn about them as well as those people on the committee. So they're going to be doing, hopefully, a small presentation in front of the town council based upon their research about Rocky Hill's housing, what's existing, and what their needs are, what our needs are, based upon their research, CHFA's research, and then do a public forum on first-time home buyers and what programs they offer. So it'll be an educational opportunity, which is one of the purposes of the Affordable Housing Committee.
I think
Educate the
maybe
public.
Department of Housing might be a good,
That as
while
well.
they're here, they can
Yes.
complement each other.
Yep, that as well, yep. So that's part
Yep.
of my role. They're also looking at the Rocky Hill Housing Authority and what plans are for possible expansion.
Yep.
down there. One of the items in the affordable housing plan is the creation of an affordable housing fund. And I've given, one of our members wants to research that, so I've given her names of communities that have affordable housing funds, and she's actually contacting them as far as what's the applicable ordinance that they put together, what are the funding sources that they have, if they have a fund already up and running. And as people get items back, they're funneling them through me, and I will funnel it back to affordable housing. And if you'd like, I can, once they get it, I'll get it to you folks as well.
Yeah, because even we can follow up with CHFA and Department of Housing if they are aware of municipalities who have created these things, you know. I mean,
Yeah, so it was a very good second meeting. One of the members is also doing more of an inventory on which units are affordable here in Rocky Hill, a little bit more specificity, and what can be considered affordable. The categories broken down on the affordable housing appeals list is rather vague, so they want to get a little bit more detail. And ironically, one member stated that they'd be contacting planning and zoning members about affordable housing and regulations, and I said, well, I can help out with that.
Thank you.
But you may get contacted by someone about that. So they've only had 2 meetings, and they've been very busy. So I appreciate that.
Right, thank you. Legislation, I see, are these all proposed or they're?
Some are effective, and some are not effective yet.
Okay.
But there's some things I just want to point out. There's many landlord-tenant laws that are going to be taking effect, and that, I know, that certainly affects Rocky Hill. We've had and still have a court case going on concerning concierge. I can't go into much detail about that, but there are a lot of laws pertaining to landlord-tenant relationships, fees, fines, so some of the ordinances need to be amended. There's something we talked about, fair share housing allocation methodology. Office of Policy and Management, by the end of this year, 2024, is going to be allocating units to regional planning districts. So Central Connecticut Regional Plan, or CROG, Capital Region Planning District, will get so many units, affordable units that must be, created in this region versus Connecticut River Regional Planning Agency must have so many units created in that region. And then in turn, each municipality will have a number. And this, I think, is getting away from that 10%. You must have 10%. And how some communities are saying, well, I have 2-acre zoning, why should I change my zoning to do this? So they're trying to take it away from
Or
the
some
more
municipality
urban
may
areas.
say, I have too many, why do I have to do it?
Yeah, so they're trying to make a fair share, so everybody does their part. They're talking about homeless and housing veterans on VA properties. Oftentimes, VA hospitals or whatever have underutilized buildings, and so they're trying to create some more affordable housing there. Workforce housing is an issue. So I just wanted to point out some of those things. I have a little more detailed information in my packet, and as these, I can get that to you if you'd like. I don't know if you,
When you said effective, you mean the effective date hasn't started, or they're not all passed yet? Are these all passed?
not all.
Oh.
So we'll have to get what passed, from maybe cost can give us.
The session's over anyway.
It's
for
over
now.
anyways, yeah, so
Yeah.
whatever has been passed, we can find out.
Yeah.
And you were going, there wasn't a meeting, but on the next agenda, there will have been a meeting, so there'll be a item for the Central Connecticut Council of Governments.
So the next agenda, that will,
Yeah, there's
I'll
one.
add that to the, okay.
It would have been after our next meeting, except our next meeting is going to be a week later, so it's going to be before, so
Okay.
there might be something to report.
I will put that on the agenda. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Moving on, item 7, communications.
At the last meeting, I know that Chairman Desai mentioned about land use training.
Who?
Chairman Desai,
Yeah, what training? I did-
Land use.
Oh, okay.
yeah. Okay. And so I just included that statute, again, that was on the table. And because the question came up, those taking office after 1/1/23 must complete 4 hours of training not later than 1 year after taking office, and once every 4 years thereafter, or once every term, if the term is longer than 4 years. So, I
Yeah.
mean, when it's offered, you'll know about it.
Yeah, that was my question last month, was
Yeah, well, it
the
came
training
up
we
at
all
the-
fit in last year,
Yep.
it applies to
4
this
years.
also.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about it at the time, unless
3
we.
more years.
Yeah, right, unless we want to. I told you, I still have an hour and a half extra, so I got an hour and a half in the bank.
All right, any,
We do have, there was a development of 120,000 square feet of flex space on Brook Street, down towards the western end of Brook Street. They require a OSTA permit. It's considered a major traffic generator. There's a letter to that effect. There was a citation issued to the landfill for clearing property, and they have failed to respond in a satisfactory manner, so the Wetlands Commission issued a citation. So,
I suggest people watch those meetings and see what happens, the open
Well,
space meetings.
the only problem, that's fine, and you
Yeah.
can watch any public meeting, but what happens at that meeting isn't a part of a record of what happens at this meeting, just so we
Okay.
all know. Yeah.
Phyllis? I have one question. We moved Agenda A to
next.
next month. Are we saving the package, or are we getting a
course.
new package?
I hope you save it, because
Okay.
I don't have any extra copy.
No, right, I mean, they're not resubmitting it.
No, they're not resubmitting.
It's just
There was an
being
error in the legal
advertised.
notice,
Okay.
and that was.
I just
on
wanted to
my
make
part.
sure.
Will
Yeah.
be redone.
Sorry?
The
Public
public notice
notice.
will be redone, but
Right,
not,
but we're saving.
they have the right.
Yes, please.
They know what their address is. We don't.
All right. Moving on, approve bills. We have no bills.
No.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.